I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that the land which we gather is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Ottawa, and Mississauga peoples. Confirmation of the agenda. The Council of the Township of North Huron hereby accepts the agenda for May 1, 2023 council meeting as presented. Do I have a mover? Councillor Wright, Councillor McBurney, all in favor? Carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interests. Seeing none. 4, public comment. This is the opportunity for members of the public to speak to an item of business on the agenda. 2 minutes per person, and just say what number of the agenda that you're speaking from and your name when you come forward. Come on up to the mic, please. Thank you.
Hello and good evening, Council. My name is Elise Ireland. I'm from South Bruce.
I'm Rowan Gaspierk from Huron East. We go to Effie Medill in grade 8.
We're speaking to item 8.1 on the agenda.
We want to express our support of flying the pride flag this June.
To be young and queer is to be hated, and both of us have experienced this hatred firsthand. I've been called slurs more than once,
Received rude messages, been treated differently, and respected less as a human being.
Some may say that the municipal flag represents everyone,
But that can't be true when people within this community don't even recognize LGBTQ plus people as part of the regular community.
Many politicians in the state speak about denying trans and LGBTQ plus people basic human rights. Instead of supporting this bigotry and being that kind of politician, we think that you should start focusing on the problems within the school system and the discrimination that happens inside of it, which might be helped by flying the pride flag.
In conclusion, we wanted to show our want and support of the pride flag being flown by the municipality this June. Your support will hopefully help show people that hate is not welcome in this community and that everyone is appreciated.
Thank you for your time listening to our comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rachel King from the Blythe Center for the Arts, also speaking to 8.1. On behalf of the Blythe Center for the Arts and all of the artists, technicians, volunteers, and staff that comprise our community, I urge Council to continue to uphold Bylaw number 100-2021, the North Huron Flag Protocol Policy. We know Council is faced with many requests and has to undertake many decisions in a year, but in the last 2 years, we were especially grateful and celebrated Council's openness to examining the flag policy and to listening to our young people in this community, our precious youth, and taking their message to heart by embracing the flying of the pride flag in 2022. This act of solidarity and respect represented the best of what we can be as a community, a place of acceptance where we love our neighbors, welcome strangers, and treat each other as we would be treated. Providing visibility and acknowledgement of the value of the contributions of the LGBTQ2S+ population in our community was and is an important step forward in continuing to strive to be a welcoming township in which to live, work, love, and play. It should also be noted that the ideas and language in the correspondence in tonight's council package are already under legal scrutiny in another Southern Ontario township, and we understand complaints have already been filed with the Ontario Human Rights Commission about the decision made there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, thank you. Consent agenda. Does anybody want to take anything from the consent agenda, please? Councillor Wright, please.
Yes, sir. If I'd like to pull 5.2.3 from the consent agenda, I have a couple questions on it.
5.2.3. Okay. Anybody else has anything?
Yep. Yeah, so if you want to deal with 5.2.3 first, you can have that discussion, and then you can deal with your rest of your consent agenda items.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Wright.
Yes, thanks. Through you, Reeve. So just a few questions with it, nothing too lengthy. I guess the first one is, first of all, I appreciate the update of the 2023 spend. It's a good report. And maybe it was tied up in the budget process, but council really wasn't presented with kind of an official year-end report of 2022 financials of actuals versus budget. And, you know, being new to council, is that not something that is traditionally like provided by the staff, is, you know, the official kind of closing year-end books of the previous fiscal year?
Could I ask one to left or right? Go ahead. Oh,
Through you, Reeve, to answer Councillor Mitch-Wright's question. We're at the final end of our 2022 annual audit with our auditors, and that's the presentation that you would receive.
Okay, perfect. So the year-end books with the audit would be provided in the presentation?
Yes, absolutely.
Excellent. Okay. So that was the first question. The second question, I already had a short discussion with Director Towns beforehand, so he'd have a little bit of heads up. We're just looking at the recreation budget, and the 2022 actual from the general ledger doesn't match the 2022 actual that was presented to us in the March 27th budget. So I just kind of found that late this afternoon. I didn't expect Director Towns to be able to answer that off the top of my head. So my understanding is he's going to do some investigation into that and give us some follow-up information.
Yes, through you, Reeve Heffer, to answer Councillor Wright's question. In the report that you received, it is based on 2023s, and the 2022s are just to help you with the actual variances between year over year. So in the report that you received, so that it wasn't 90 pages long, it was only 36, I believe. What I did was when I printed the report for 2023 actuals versus 2023 actual versus budgeted, sorry, I clicked on a button called Exclude Zero Balances. So in your 2023s, if there is a zero balance or a zero budget, that number, that represented an account in 2022 would not be reflective, because the report is essentially for 2023 variances, if that makes sense for you.
Yeah, it does. And sorry, I said, I kind of regret the fact I didn't spot it more in advance so that Director Towns had some time to do the research, but I'll follow up with an email tomorrow, just so we're all on the same page. And then just the other item, which again, I don't expect an answer off the top of my head, the revenue for the roads budget didn't match the revenue in the March 27th budget either. So I'll put that in the email as well, just so you have an opportunity to dig into that a bit deeper.
Thank you, Councillor Wright.
Okay, that's all, Reeve. Thank you.
okay, thank you. Councillor Palmer?
Yeah, thank you, Reeve. Yeah. I guess just looking at it simplistically, there's such a huge variation, and again, it's in the rec. We all know that's where the elephant is. There's some huge ones, like 100,000, 200,000, and it really concerns me, and I brought it up when we were going through the budget process, and it's going to be a forever concern through the year. And like recreation has worked, with the numbers that it's had through the years, and it's been basically on. With huge differences like this, I'm just letting you know, it's just a huge concern as to how it's going to end up at the end of the year.
Thank you, Councillor Palmer.
Okay. So any other things want pulled from the consent agenda? Seeing none?
Yes, as far as I'm concerned, Your Worship, you can still pass that same motion. Everything's still being received for information, and the discussion wasn't any lengthier than anything other than
Thank you.
consent.
Number 5, that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby adopts consent item 5.1.1, and further that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives consent items 5.1.2 to 5.3.5 for information. Do you have a mover? Councillor Van Hitterson, Councillor Whitfield, all in favor? Carried. Public meetings, delegations, there are none. 7.1.1, CL 2023-08, New approval framework for temporary outdoor physical extensions, temporary patios for liquor licensed premises. That the council of the township of North Huron hereby receives the report of the clerk dated May 1, 2023 regarding the new approval framework for the temporary outdoor physical extension for liquor licenses premises for information purposes, and that further, that the council adopts bylaw number 33, 2023, being a bylaw to delegate approval authority for temporary outdoor physical extensions for liquor licenses premises to the clerk or designate to adopt criteria for the processing and approval of temporary outdoor physical extension applications. May I have a mover and a second? Mover, Deputy Reeve, Councillor Palmer. Now, are there any questions for Clerk Lamb with this? Go ahead, Councillor McBurney.
Thank you, Reeve, and Reeve through you to Clerk Lamb. In your report, that financial impact part, I need a little clarity there. It says the process for the new liquor license application. Is this liquor licensing patios or the actual liquor license?
So through you, your worship, to answer Council McBurney's question, what I was trying to achieve there was basically to give council a heads up on something I'll be bringing forward with the 2024 fees and charges bylaw. So so that would be, we'd be looking to implement a liquor licensing fees schedule, which is basically what we would be doing is implementing a processing fee to recover staff's time. So that would be in two regards. One, for the review of the temporary outdoor patios, and two, for applications for businesses applying for liquor licenses. So when a business applies for a liquor license before AGCO gives them approval, there's a number of agency letters that they're required to receive, one from public health, one from our chief building official, one from our fire prevention officer, and one from myself as the clerk. Currently, we're not recovering any of those costs for our time. In doing this report, we did a scan of other municipalities, and most municipalities have a processing fee for that. So basically, at the same time as we implement a processing fee for the temporary patios, we would also be looking to add one for those agency letters when a business is looking to apply for a liquor license for the first time.
So this is the first time liquor license, you mean?
Yeah, for those ones.
Okay. Thank you.
Deputy Reeve, go ahead.
Through your, some just clarification from through Carson. Is it intended that the temporary license fees will be the same as? It's going to take the same amount of time for the temporary as it is for the full-time one. There, that seems kind of detrimental to a temporary one if they're just having one for a long weekend or a ball tournament, or it just needs to be kind of cost intuitive when they can have one for the whole year for the same price.
Yeah, and I think we're getting confused a little bit. It's not so much tied to your special events as opposed to your liquor licensing for like a restaurant, where we're looking for things like occupancy loads and fire prevention and that kind of thing. That being said, with this report, we haven't necessarily determined what those fees are going to look like for either scenario yet. Kind of as noted in the report, I kind of want to gauge what the amount of staff time will be for these scenarios, and then we would bring something forward for council's consideration accordingly.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Show of hands in favor? Carried. Recreation and Community Service Department, 7.3.1, RC 2023-04, Wingham Columbus Center and Knights of Columbus agreements. Are there any questions for CAO Evans? Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Deputy Reeve. Thanks, through you, Reeve. Yeah, I just really had one question. It seemed like from reading through the correspondence and the agreement that there seemed like both sides were kind of seeing eye to eye on everything except the replacement of the kitchen equipment and the flooring. Seems like the Columbus Center asked that be removed from the agreement, and the agreement as presented still includes it. So I just wanted to understand the rationale. You know, it wasn't part of the conversation, so just looking for an explanation on that item.
Okay, could the gentleman at the back there, or they're going to come? Yes, Mr. McGrath? And Kevin, I take it? Yes, just up front. Yeah, up on the stage here, sir. Thanks.
Thank you very much. To answer your question in regards to the flooring and the kitchen, I guess we would like to point out that anything that is put in there will be paid by the Columbus Center, but will remain the property of the township. So as I've explained to the CEO and the clerk, the one thing that we have to remember is if a grant does become available for any of these funds, we can then apply for it. If it's not, if it's strictly to be paid by the Columbus Center, we cannot. So I guess to point out to you the things over the last, just quickly, over the last number of years that the Columbus Center has been there, these things add up very quickly. If you check back over the last 20 years, we have put approximately a little over $1 million to the township through different agreements that we've had, covering furniture, covering replacements, covering bills that have to be paid, including the pledge that was to come back. We understand that, you know, certain things do come with renting a facility, but we're talking hard surface things here. You cannot run a facility without a floor. So all we're looking at is that if we're going to do improvements to the hull, then these should be included at the same time. We're not suggesting at any time that these dollars be paid by the township. But what we are saying is that if there's money transferred over to here, or if there's grants become available, or for an example, the one part of this pledge money is going into that fund, then the flooring, if it's necessary, has to be done. Then I don't see any reason why we wouldn't include that along with the other things that are in there. You know, lighting, et cetera, is there. We would work with the township at that time to replace them like we have in the past. That explains it.
Yep, it does. Thank you, Mr. McGrath. And then through you, Reeve, just maybe to understand the township's perspective on why we want to keep those in the agreement for the Columbus Center to pay for them.
Through you, Reeve, just in terms of, so I wasn't part of the meeting and the discussion, first of all. So, and then further to that, in terms of this item that Mr. McGrath and I were discussing, as I understand, wasn't part of that initial conversation, so it's kind of came after the fact. I don't have the context, I guess, for that conversation. So what you see in the agreement is really a carry forward from what was in the 2019 agreement. So it's just carry forward as part of the 2019 provision was carry forward into this. But certainly if council is accepting of the requested amendment from the Columbus Center, that will be amended in the agreement. And then the final agreement would be brought back for council's approval.
Deputy Reeve, please.
Through you, Reeve. A couple of points. The municipality owns the facility and the structure of the building, and is responsible for general upkeep and maintenance of that anyway. I'm just curious as to improvements that become the ownership of the municipality. are they then, are we then responsible for all maintenance, upkeep, and costs going forward with replacement? That was just one question. And I've never seen, or never come across, a lease situation where there's been a negotiation where the rest of the, or changing a contract where the rest of the payment due from the original contract would then be switched over to all being used as sole money for the installation. To describe it as, it's like I can't go back to my mortgage company and say, for the rest of my payments going forward, I'd like it to be put back and put a new pool in my backyard and fix my basement up. You know, it's an agreement that we had for a pledge for a certain amount to build the building. For now to change that curriculum so whatever's left goes back into just our portion of the building. I've never seen an agreement like that come through, and I don't think that there's any agreement in the municipality with any other organization like that. I don't see the ability to have that kind of an investment to the Belgrave Arena or the Blythe Hall. We don't have agreements like that or any way of recouping costs back through that. But so it seems to be an odd, to use the word, an odd duck out. I've never heard of an agreement like that coming forward in anything else that the municipality does.
I can probably answer some of your question if you'd like. I guess number one, and I'm not going to get into the long history of the Knights of Columbus with you or with the agreement with the township, but if you want to take the time sometime and dig it up, it's downstairs in the vaults, you will, and read the original agreement. The original agreement here with the Columbus Center and the Knights of Columbus was a signed agreement by your lawyers and by the townships, I'm sorry, the town at that time's lawyer and the William Knights of Columbus lawyer, which stated that we had 100-year lease on that building. And that 100-year lease was also an extended lease also. But it also stated in there that, for an example, this pledge was to be paid back over 100 years because of everything that had gone in. And like I said, I'm not going to take an hour to explain this to you, but if you would like to read it, you're more than welcome. The original is there. But what we are asking you is that the improvements on the building, I guess we all have to look and say that building is now 20 years old. We have to compete to keep that building there. We have to compete to keep weddings, to keep banquets, to keep these things going and keep the facility going. So what we are asking is that if we're going to spend $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, which has already been approved, to go on the walls, we're not going to take it down. It's there. It's to improve and hopefully bring more business into the complex. This is all we're trying to do, is do improvements. As far as you taking over the expenses, no, we're not asking you to take over the expenses. We're saying that the original dollars were dedicated for that hall. That's what it was dedicated for. And you'll see this if you go back and read it. So all we're asking is, we don't want you to go back and take the $500,000, which was dedicated at that time for it. We're asking you to take the balance of the pledge, put it over there, as you are the ones who still run it. But if something comes in that is needed, and we have an agreement that we pay 30% through the government, then it's used. I'm saying, how can we, on one hand, take and say, we're not going to use the flooring when it's one of the most important things in the hall? We've already put 7 new freezers in down there. We're not asking you to go back and pay for these. We're saying that these are things that are going to have to be updated all the time, furniture, etc. So, we're not asking for money that is not going to be there. This money was dedicated for the hall. It wasn't dedicated to pay taxes. Okay?
I have
Okay, follow up, go
a-
ahead.
Yeah, if we're gonna have to negotiate one contract over another, I would have to have a copy, if that could be provided to the council, a copy of the original contract, so we can go over it.
That's been noted, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Palmer, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Reeve. It seems that if a leasee is willing to make improvements, leasees don't have to make improvements, not at all. They just carry on the way it is if they wish. But these folks want to improve, and yes, it'll help their business, which helps us too. But the improvements are part of the building. And a lot of those parts won't need replacing or maintaining, maybe cleaning. But I question if the Knights didn't do it, would we? I don't know. I doubt it with the way our budget is sitting. We're not going to spend money in there for that, but these folks are. And so I think it's a good idea. I like it. And I do know some homeowners, not home renters, that ask the owner if I paint the place, can we deduct it from the rent? And oftentimes, yes, so that happens. In Belgrave Arena, they've spent a lot of money in there. Just look at the generator. What was it, $20,000, $30,000? Well, guess what? It's part of North Huron, but they paid for it. So it's really a good thing when a leasee or a group that we have an agreement with wants to improve something that North Huron owns.
Thank you. Go ahead, Deputy Reeves.
Just as clarification, my comment was just if something was put in place for $100,000 and it only lasted 2 years and needed replacing, and it instantly became the property of the township, is the township required then to replace it and keep it on the maintenance? So that's what
Oh, okay.
so yes, we maintain the envelope, but it's a clean slate usually for a leasee to do what they want. But if something went in there, and then do we come out instantly required to keep it up to the standards and for a 100-year lease? That doesn't jive with me. So that's all my comment was. Thank you.
I'm sure some of that would be worded in there. So were there any other questions for Mr. McGrath from council? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Councillor Palmer.
So I hope I'm not confused, Mr. McGrath. You would wish to take those, say, kitchen items out of the agreement? Like, you read what we have, and it says, well, we plan on doing it because it was in there in 2019, but then it's worded that the Knights wish it would come out. So which is right?
No, I think it took me a little while and 3 or 4 phone calls to try and figure this out myself. What we are asking is that we do not exclude, like, when it comes to fridges, stoves, et cetera, we have, like, to give an example, we just had to pay for the fire suppression system. Not because there was a fire, but because of a time limit.
Code.
Okay? So the code says it had to be changed. We didn't have time to come to council for approval for that. So what we had to do, we paid for it, which is quite, it has to be done. I could not renew a liquor license. I couldn't have banquets or weddings without having that installed. So we had that done. That is something that we feel that's fine, it's paid for. All we were asking is that, can these things be deducted from the pledge? Not that we want them taken out of anywhere. It would still remain there, Chris, but it will not be, no, it's written in stone, they are the Knights of Columbus.
I gotcha.
Okay? That's why we're saying it should be all one piece. And I think through our meetings that we've had over the last couple of years, this is what came out, was instead of having all these separate items, let's try and lump this all into one thing and not try and take one little thing out and say, no, that doesn't fit. You can't run the banquet hall without a fridge. You can't run it without a stove. So let's put them in there, but don't exempt things. Sorry.
Councillor Van Husen, go
Thank you
ahead.
very much. I am with the Deputy Reeve. I find it really strange that we are going to deduct 145,000 from a construction pledge and that was for the whole building, to change it to a home improvement pledge, and then give the Knights all say over what is going to happen with the hall. I think the hall is a municipal property, and the final say should be by council.
It is.
It
We're not
is?
asking that be changed. The final, it says right in here that before any work can be done,
That's not the wording in the.
well, that's the way it was explained to me, that before anything can be done, has to have approval of council.
Maybe we should have an extra look at the bylaw before we pass it then.
I have a copy of the agreement,
Yeah, we too.
and the agreement does say.
Just ask that you come through the chair, please, and whatnot,
Sorry.
okay?
The agreement does state in it, I don't know how your bylaw is written, I didn't have anything to do with that, I'm sorry, but the agreement states quite clearly that anything that is done in the hall has to come through council first for your approval, and it shouldn't be changed. We're not asking for that to be changed. So if you feel, for an example, if we come to you and ask you, can this be done, and you say no, then it doesn't get done. Okay? We're not asking that to be changed.
Dwayne, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, through you, Reeve, just in terms of, so it is, and I was actually just looking for the provision. There should be a provision in here that basically indicates that prior to any capital work being completed, which is the terminology that requires council approval. So I'm just searching, that's certainly what was intended. And it, anyways.
I
I'm
read
just-
that in the.
Yeah, okay.
See
So
how-
it is it was certainly intended to be in there, that council approval was required.
Okay, were there any other questions for Mr. McGrath? Okay, I'll turn it over to Carson, Clerk Lamb, please.
Yeah, so I guess I'd be looking for counsel of what you wish to provide to staff for direction. So there's your draft motion there. So someone, you can move the motion as is, you can amend the motion, you can pass a different motion. So we as staff require direction from the floor as to what you wish to do.
Go ahead, Councillor Palmer.
Yeah, I'd like to amend the motion to include the items utilized in the kitchen to be included in the, the capital items for the building? To be included all together, included in the pledge?
Just give Clerk Lamb another moment here to,
So you, I guess for clarity, Councilor Palmer, you're looking for the motion as it was on the floor with that addition?
Yes, please.
Okay, so then your motion would be something along the lines of that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the joint report prepared by the Director of Recreation and Community Services and the CAO dated May 1st, 2023 regarding changes to the lease agreement for the Wingham Columbus Center for information purposes, and further that Council directs the clerk to prepare a bylaw authorizing the Reeve and clerk to sign an agreement between the Corporation of the Township of North Huron and the Wingham Columbus Center for the lease of the Wingham Columbus Center for the May 15th, 2023 regular council meeting. And further, that council directs for the Wingham Columbus Center lease agreement to be revised to remove kitchen equipment and flooring as operational expenses and include them as capital improvements within the agreement. And further, that council directs the clerk to prepare a bylaw authorizing the Reeve and clerk to sign an agreement between the Corporation of the Township of North Huron and the Knights of Columbus Council 7569 for the payment of their pledge for the construction of the North Huron West Cast Community Complex. And further, that council authorizes donations received from the Wingham Columbus Center, the Knights of Columbus, and/or any third party for facility improvements to the community hall at the North Huron West Cass Community Complex to be deducted from the outstanding balance of the Knights of Columbus's pledge towards the construction of the facility, and further that council directs the Director of Finance Treasurer to deposit the Knights of Columbus's pledge and any donations received for the community hall at the North Huron West Cass Community Complex into the Wingham Columbus Center Reserve Fund for future capital improvements to the facility.
Clarification?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Reeve, does that amendment place the, as you were saying, the freezers and that, does that place that in, then into the responsibility of the taxpayers of North Huron? From the Knights of Columbus? Is it adding to the building?
So essentially, just in terms of those improvements, right now, those kitchen improvements are not part, or are not deducted from the pledge. The amendment would then make those items that Mr. McGrath has indicated be deducted from the pledge.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you have a mover, but no seconder yet.
Second that.
Seconder, Councillor Wright. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Mr. McGrath.
Thank you very much.
Seven point 3.2, RC 2023-12, Recreation Program Service Agreement with Huron County. Are there any questions for CAO Evans here, please? No questions? Good. This is for the outdoor programs through the summer, as we all know, and things like that. They deal through the county, and that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the report of the Recreation Supervisor dated May 1, 2023 regarding the 2023 Recreation Program Service Agreement with Huron County for information purposes. And further, that the clerk be directed to prepare a bylaw for the May 15th, 2023 regular council meeting to authorize the Reeve and clerk to sign a recreation program service agreement with Huron County. May I have a mover? Councillor McBurney. Seconder? Councillor Van Hitterson. All in favor? Carried.
Point of order, just clarification, Reeve. Prior to the vote, I had asked for the agreement with the Knights of Columbus to be produced so we could look at both of them. But we've just passed a new agreement.
So through your Reeve Heifer, in terms of, we will bring back, staff will bring back updated versions of the agreement based on the direction that council has provided. But council's not passing a bylaw tonight in terms of entering into the agreement. So you'll see a final version of the agreement prior to you authorizing the signing of it.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yep. Thank you. Sorry, I'm not sure where he is now. Just pa-
7.6.1.
7.6.1, CAO 2023-08, Memorandum of Understanding with Southside for tree compensation at Hutton Heights. Are there any questions for CAO Evans, please? Seeing none, that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives a report of the Economic Development Officer dated May 1, 2023 regarding a memorandum of understanding between the Township of North Huron and the Southside Construction Management Limited. And further, that the Council approves a memorandum of understanding as presented. And further, that Council authorize an upset limit of $25,000 to be transferred from the Economic Development Reserve Fund to implement a tree compensation plan for Hutton Heights. And further, that the council authorizes the Director of Finance Treasurer to make any necessary adjustments to the approval of 2023 budget. And further, that the council approves bylaw number 34/2023, being a bylaw adopting a memorandum of understanding between the Township of North Huron, Southside Construction Management Limited at the May 1, 2023 regular meeting. I have a mover. Deputy Reeve, Faulkner, Councillor Whitfield, all in favor. Carried. CAO 2023-09, North Huron Social Media Policy. Are there any questions for CAO Evans? Go ahead, Councillor Wright, please.
Yeah, just one quick one. So I recognize it's just a draft policy and the final policy is going to come through. But section 7.6, which was who the approvers are, was left blank. And I just wondered, is that because there's just additional discussion as far as the actual roles of who was going to approve the media releases? And I think that's kind of one of the key parts to the whole policy. I mean, generally the policy looks very good, but that part was kind of just not filled out yet. So just curious
So,
why
yeah,
that was.
through your worship, I believe what the EDO was intending with that whole Appendix A is that is a sample, that sample social media plan. So in the social media plan for a page, whoever's requesting that page to be created would fill in those relevant things at the time.
Oh, I see.
So
Okay.
anywhere where it's red, those are blanks that would be filled in by the staff member submitting the social media plan.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, because one of the concerns raised by Council Palmer was about, you know, the hours of work, you know, Monday through Friday, early, late, like say if children's centers are closed or whatever, right? There needs to be, understand the intent of the policy is a good one, but there also needs to be flexibility built in there about early mornings, late nights, weekends, whatever, to get those posts approved. So thank you, Reeve.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No, you don't.
Okay, mover, please. Councillor Palmer, Councillor Wright, all in favor? Carried. 8, correspondence, 8.1, Jason, Julie Dickert, Jake and Ann Kickert, I'm sorry with the first name, request to ban non-government flags on municipal property. We have two options here, reaffirm the existing flag policy or direct staff to draft amendment to the flag policy to ban non-government flags. Discussion, please. Go ahead. Deputy Reeve, please.
Go ahead with the discussion. I was going to make a motion, but go ahead with the discussion first.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Mitch, right?
Yeah,
please?
thanks, through you, Reeve. Yeah, so I just like to voice my support of the existing Flag Day policy. You know, I see flying the pride flag as similar to Indigenous land claim statements, right? That there has been past wrongs and they're not righted yet. You know, I read in the paper about a neighboring municipality made the decision not to fly flags. And, you know, in the article, it said that everyone is represented by flying the flags we have. And that's the problem. Flying the flags we have also represents the bullies and the bigots, right? The pride flag doesn't. So that's why it's important for the municipality to fly the pride flag, right? It shows that additional change needs to happen, that the status quo isn't good enough. So I strongly support the current policy. I think the last council did a great job on it. Thank you very much, Reeve.
Here, here.
Councillor Palmer, please.
As the other year, last year, when we talked about it, I was against flying any flag, anything other than our municipal, provincial, and country flag. You, Mitch, you said that our flags, what they do is they show support and support and unity for everybody. That's how we have to think about it, or else what are we doing? People died carrying flags in wars because that's what it meant to them. And okay, so we have the LBGQ flag. They want to fly it again. Is that going to help for a month? If there's the bullies and the lousy people out there that cause issues, but they don't just cause issues for them, they cause issues for other peoples too. they're racial people, and there's something wrong with them, racist people. So they're the problem people, and they're going to be a problem whether you're flying a flag for a year or a month. Like, so to me, it's a nice gesture, but it doesn't go far enough. It doesn't mean enough, because it does not stop or close the mouths of the bigots out there. I'm just a firm believer in keep it simple, 3 flags, and look at them whenever you want. And to me, I feel great living under those 3 flags. I can question stuff. There's always stuff happening that I don't like, but still, it's the place to be. And I think of all the countries that are in the world, you're living in a good one. I know you might be facing issues, time and again. But no, don't smirk, because
Speaking to you or them?
you do face issues, and I know it. But in other countries...
Point of order.
Point of order. Oh, forget it.
No,
Will,
that's
Are
enough,
you
please.
addressing,
That's
are you
enough,
addressing
please.
the read,
That-
or are you addressing the audience?
I thought I'd be kind and talk to those folks down here.
Did they ask for your opinion?
Oh, get
Hey.
off it.
You're supposed to be talking to the,
Right.
Anyways, I would like to, I still agree with just the 3 flags, the municipal, just our government flags.
Thank you. Could you had your hand up?
I was going to make a
Deputy Reed,
motion
please.
to, receive the information for information purposes only, and to maintain our current flag policy that was just reaffirmed 2 years ago by several members of this council.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay, thank you. All in favor?
Do you want me to
Oh,
read it back
sorry,
first, maybe?
sorry, we're going to read.
So the motion on the floor, and mover and seconder, feel free to let me know if this isn't what you're looking for, but your motion on the floor would be that the council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the correspondence from Jason and Julie Dickert and Jake and Annie Kickert requesting to ban non-government flags on municipal property, and requesting to ban non-government flags on municipal property, and hereby reaffirms the township's current flag protocol policy.
Okay.
So that's what you're...
That's fine with you.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, council reports. 9.1, the Reeve activity report. Just from the county council meeting, I'd just like to mention that number 4 and 25, the working on the lights will be going ahead. And also in our municipality, there's going to be some bridge work done on Belgrave Road. So just a heads up on that, they're going to do some resurfacing there on the bridges, try and get more lifetime out of that bridge there. So I'm sure we'll be running into that every now and then as we go about. And also I'll ask for council members' reports and the boards that they sit on. Go ahead, Councillor Wright.
Yeah, thanks through you, Reeve. So, yeah, things are getting quite busy now with the Alice Munro Festival of the Short Story, which is taking place, as a reminder, June 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. June 3rd is here in Wingham, primarily located at the Maitland River Church, although there is one speaker at the library as well. So the schedule is now posted on the festival website for those that are interested. They have a long list of guest speakers now confirmed to attend. So if anybody's interested, again, just look up the Alice Munro Festival website. Lots of good information there. And things are getting busy, but it looks like it's going to be a great return to its in-person event.
Have they said what places they're going to be held at?
Yep. Yep, it's all on the schedule there.
Yep, okay.
Yep.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's good. I know we'll be here one day and down.
Yeah, Friday through your Eve is in Blythe, and Saturday is here in Wingham, and then the Sunday is in Bayfield.
Thanks very much. Were there any other reports from anybody? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Councillor McBurney.
Yeah, through you, Reeve. Our CHIP meeting, our coalition, we've sort of got some of priorities set, and we're basically aiming at road safety, like sharing the road, bike safety, horse and buggy, aggressive driving under the influence. And for anyone that's interested in like MTO, they got the social media, they got Twitter, Facebook, @on transport for messaging, announcements, and virtual webinars. So there's some homework there from some people if they're interested. So.
Great, thank you. Anybody else have anything or comments by members then? Go ahead, Deputy Reeve Faulkner.
Thank you, Reeve. This past Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I was lucky enough to be able to attend the OSAM conference in Paris. It was dubbed Springtime in Paris. For people that don't know, that's the Ontario Association of Urban Municipalities. They're a co-branch, I guess, of the Ontario Municipality, or AMO, which is the overseeing of all municipalities in Ontario. I have to say it was one of the more inspiring committee or conferences I've been to that really had a fresh take and had some, I would say, engaged and energized people in municipal government. There was great lengthy discussion and panel talks on Bill 23 on the homelessness and housing portions of it. I have to say that were some really great comments and some really great information that was taken back. Quite a few of the government officials were there at the council as well, listening to the reports that were coming in and the discussions. And I found them to be very hopeful. I was kind of re-energized coming out of that maybe there is a solution to some of this, some of the stuff that were going on. There was a great panel on short stay accommodations. Some of the more recreational parts of the country are having quite a problem with people buying investment homes and renting them out, and not being there to care for it, and causing quite a problem with the other rental properties and the homeowners around. They were. I can't say that they've come to any kind of a conclusion how they're going to support the bylaws for the municipalities on how to regulate this, but towns like Blue Mountain or ski resorts, or there was up in Tiny Township, up along the shores of Georgian Bay, are having quite a time with the town swelling to 3 times the municipality and not having any bylaws that pertain to those people coming in and going, and to whose responsibility it was for the EMS and policing costs for it. So those were some of the great conversations that we were having. As I'll just reiterate again, I found it very uplifting, and I came away from that conference with kind of a renewed sense that we can, I think we're making some progress. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Any other comments by members? Go ahead, Councillor Wright.
Yes, through you, Reeve. It's actually more of a question than a comment, just because I'm not 100% sure. So I think early on in our budget process, we passed a motion in order to, go over the reserve funds we had in order to update them, make better sense of them, consolidate them where required, and that work was done. But it occurred to me when I was looking at the general ledger, I thought part of that motion was also then to create a policy on what the reserves were supposed to be used for. I know there's a bit of a spirited discussion on the use of the Westerio Fund, so I just wondered if that is still being worked on and when that'd be presented.
Yeah, through your worship. So yes, part of that motion was to bring forward a number of reserve creation bylaws finance and the clerk's department are working through that. We are of the view that we want to bring them forward all at one meeting, which with the number of reserves is a monumental task. So we hope to bring something in front of council in the near future with all those.
Okay, thank you for the update. Thank you.
No other comments? I'd just like to say a thank you to Pete Mulvey, Gary Lyle, and Doug Kivenhoven for organizing the Wednesday Waste Free Day. They had a bunch of volunteers gather, and I think they gathered about 40 bags of garbage around the town, and you definitely can see how tidy some of those streets are now, and it is really appreciated by us as councilors around the table here for the work that the volunteers can do in a short period of time, and I'd just like to show our appreciation to them. Okay, 9.4, notice of motion. Seeing none. Bylaws, 10.1, bylaw number 32, 2023, memorandum of understanding with the Musical Muskrat Festivals Committee. Do I have a mover? Councillor Whitfield, Councillor Wright, all in favor? Carried. 10.2, bylaw number 33, 2023, temporary outdoor physical extensions, temporary patios bylaw. As was discussed earlier, do I have a mover? Councillor McBurney, Councillor Palmer, all in favor? Carried. 10.3, bylaw number 34, 2023, memorandum of understanding with Southside Construction Management Limited for tree planting compensation. Do I have a mover? Deputy Reeve Faulkner, Councillor Van Hitterson, all in favor? Carried. Announcements. The next regular council meeting will be held on Monday, May 15th, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the North Huron Town Hall Theatre. Next Wingham BIA board meeting will be held on Wednesday, May 17th, 2023 at the 6:30 Hot Stove Lounge in North Huron West Cass Community Complex. And the next Blythe BIA board meeting will be held on Thursday, May 25th, 2023 at 8 a.m. at the Blythe and District Community Center. And also, I'd like to make an announcement that there's going to be the mural unveiling is going to be held at the complex this Friday. If you can make it out, it'd be much appreciated, the work that went on in that. And it's going to be approximately at 6 p.m. So if you can make it out for that, it'd be really great. Are there any other announcements that I may have missed? Seeing none? Okay. Other business. 13, no closed session. Conformatory bylaw. 14.1, bylaw number 35, 2023. Conformatory bylaw. Do I have a mover? Councillor Wright, Councillor Whitfield, all in favor? Carried. Adjournment. That the council, the Township of North Huron, agree that there being no further business before council, the meeting here be hereby adjourned at
6:58 p.m.
6:58 p.m. Do I have a mover? Councillor McBurney, Councillor Deputy Reeve Faulkner, all in favor?